Imagine if you had a technique that you could use with your clients in your practice that would bring about bigger, better, faster results for your clients, for which you could charge a lot more money, generating more business, more revenue, generating more satisfied clients, many more referrals, and amazing testimonials. And imagine if you could use that technique with almost any problem, with anyone, anywhere over the world, and over the phone. Well, today I'm going to tell you about this rapid transformation technique. And I'm going to tell you how you could learn and master that technique. But before I do, I'd like to share a story with you. Many years ago, I was living in the island of Cozumel. I had a friend and she invited me to visit her in Indiana. Let's call her Jill. Well, Jill had some friends, Deanne and David. David was a psychiatrist. When we all got together, David said, "Patrick, I don't want to offend you, but I really don't believe in hypnosis or hypnotherapy." I said, "David, that's fine." But his wife said to me, "Can you hypnotize me? Will you hypnotize me?" And I said, "Well, what would you like to do when you're hypnotized?" And she said, "I don't know, I'd just like to experience it." I said, "Okay, let's do it." So I proceeded to hypnotize this lady, taking her back to around age 2. And she could see her mother, she could see how young she looks, she could notice the dress, the texture of the fabric, and even the design of the buttons. Meanwhile, unbeknownst to me, her husband, the psychiatrist, was starting to get worried. And he goes to my other friend and says, "Does Patrick know what he's doing? Has he had a lot of experience? Because she's hypnotized and will she be able to come out?" My friend said, "David, relax. He's got lots of experience." So at the end, when I took her out of hypnosis, she was so ecstatic. She said, "Wow, this is such a cool experience." And she proceeded to rave about the experience to her husband, letting him know how much she saw, how detailed the dress was, the buttons, the fabric, how she could look down and notice how small her body was, and how young her mother looked. As a result of this, her husband came up to me and said to me, "You know, Patrick, I want to share something with you. In all of my 15 years as a psychiatrist, as a mental health counselor, I don't believe that I've ever been able to help one person." And as you can imagine, this gentleman felt so down. And imagine what it would feel like if you've been a mental health counselor, a psychiatrist for 15 years, and you now believe that you've never been able to help anyone. So of course I had compassion for him. But there's an interesting point about this story, because this, which happened so many years ago, was to repeat itself. In other words, hearing from so many different therapists, counselors, life coaches, psychiatrists, psychologists, trainers, this frustration, this disappointment that they're not able to help a lot of people. Meanwhile, I continue to have tremendous success with a lot of clients. In fact, one client said to me, "Patrick, in my 42 years, I've never had such great help in my first session from anyone." Now, this is not about me boasting, but there is a story here that I'm sharing with you. For example, I met a lady at an event, and she said to me, as she looked at my card, "Oh, you're a life coach and a human behavior expert? I've been looking for someone to help me." And I said, "Okay, well, tell me a little bit more about what you want to achieve." So this lady, Carol, proceeded to tell me that she'd been going to a psychologist for quite a few months now, but had not been getting the results she wanted. And I said to her, "Well, why do you keep going back?" She said, "Well, my insurance is paying, my company's paying for it." And I said, "But is it working for you?" And she said, "No." And I said, "Well, tell me about your experience." She said, "Well, in fact, at the end of every session, I feel very frustrated because I feel like we're just talking and I'm not getting anywhere." And I said, "Well, maybe it's time you try something new." At which point she did. And after her first session, at the end of that first session, just 1 hour, she said to me, "Wow, I feel so relieved, Patrick." And she looked completely different on her face too. She said, "I feel so different towards my mother now." After she left, she proceeded to call her mother. She proceeded to have lunch with her mother. And then she called me to say, "My relationship with my mother has changed so drastically, so dramatically, and I feel so much better about myself." Well, as a result of the success I was having, many more clients started to reach out to me. And I even started to work with high-profile clients, with celebrity clients, with people of all sorts of backgrounds and ages. But as a result, people from around the US and around the world wanted me to work with them. The challenge I was finding was, well, I can't get to everyone. I have to work with them over the phone. Working with them over the phone meant, well, I can't put them into a deep trance, so I can't use hypnosis. How am I going to help these people? And thus I began to develop and create the technique, which I'm going to tell you more about today. Meanwhile, I'd like to share just a couple more brief stories with you. Because what I found was that in this technique I created and developed, people were getting such rapid transformation that they'd never experienced before, without experiencing pain, without having to go into any sort of deep trance. So the technique I'm talking about is not hypnosis, it's not neuro-linguistic programming, it's not Gestalt therapy, it's not cognitive behavioral therapy, although maybe it borrows certain elements from each of those disciplines and modalities. And remember, what I'm sharing with you today is not a criticism of any of the other modalities or disciplines. It's simply a comparison and saying, look at these results. Would you like to have these results? Because the technique that I could teach you can be easily duplicated. If I know it, you can learn it. If I know it, I can teach it to you. And it's a very, very powerful technique. So let me tell you a little bit more about this story. Recently, I was having a meeting with some TV executives from VH1 who wanted to talk to me about some of the work I do and how they might be able to incorporate it in some of their shows. And one of the other producers by my side was boasting and showing off about the success of my techniques and saying Patrick doesn't believe in talk therapy. And the TV executive said to me, well, that's interesting, Patrick, why not? And I said, well, if all it took for us to have the results that we want is to talk to each other, then we'd all be healed. We'd all be resolved. There'd be no issues, no challenges. And I said, of course, because when we're talking, we're speaking to the conscious mind. We're not speaking to the part of the mind that controls our behavior, that controls the way we think, the way we feel, and the way we act. Which part of your mind does that? We all know it's the unconscious, it's the subconscious. It's events that have happened in the past that have formed beliefs, formed emotions, that therefore determine the way we think, the way we feel, the way we behave. So talking to you, talking at you, doesn't generate results. So this TV executive said to me, oh, I relate to that. You're right, because if all it took was just to use our logic, our conscious mind, I'd exercise more and I'd eat healthier. I said, that's true. So then he proceeded to say to me, well, Patrick, why do all these other people continue just talking at each other or talking to each other? And I said, it's not their fault. That's just what they've been taught. Because most modalities, most disciplines teach us one thing, just to talk to each other, hoping that maybe we'll break through. And yet we all know from personal experience and even from working with clients that talking at people, talking to their conscious mind doesn't generate the results we want. Now you'll say, well, therefore, NLP or hypnotherapy should work because we're reaching the subconscious mind. Yes, but here are the challenges with those. You can't always do them over the phone, although you can in some instances with NLP, but they're also limited. For example, I had another client who said to me, Patrick, I tried hypnotherapy and it didn't work for me because I couldn't go under. And I tried a couple of times. So then I walked away, and now I speak very harshly about this hypnotherapist because she couldn't put me under. And so I felt really badly, and I felt like I wasted my money, and I felt like I was even a failure because I couldn't go under. So therefore, there are limitations with each of these disciplines. But what I also found was, for example, with NLP, you can't quickly and easily get to the root cause of really deep, complex emotional issues. But what about if the technique I'm going to share with you could get to the root cause of those deep, complex issues and wipe it out really fast? Not through command therapy, but getting to the root cause and shifting the way you perceive that event, and without using any form of deep trance or hypnosis. Now you say, well, Patrick, does this technique work? Yes, it does. Not only have I had great success in this technique, I mean, there are endless testimonials from my clients for this, but as a result, I've become renowned for my success, and I've been featured on Fox News, MSNBC, The Mike and Juliet Show, Montel Williams, CNN.com, The Recovery Magazine, Natural Awakenings, and I could go on and on about the various magazines, radio shows, and TV shows that I've been featured on. In fact, I've even been on the Howard Stern show working with one of his staff members to help them to gain more confidence. As a result of the success I have, I charge around $350 per hour over the phone to work with clients. And at the end of it, clients are ecstatic and more than happy to put down that money and sometimes even tip me because they're so happy for the results they got in such a short space. One client said to me after the first session, "Patrick, I've got more help from you in this session than I have with 2 years of therapy." So therefore, this technique does work. And as a result, I've had a lot of success. I charge a lot more money, and I now have clients that I say, you know what, I don't have enough time. I don't have enough time to see all these clients because I have so many people coming to me wanting to work with me. As a result of the word getting out, many other people have also come to me and said to me, "Patrick, will you teach us your technique?" For example, I recently received an email from another life coach who said, "Patrick, I really want to learn the techniques you use because I've heard about the success you have and how you've helped so many people." Now, I can't help everybody, but I can help some people. Maybe around 15 people, a small group that I can begin with to start teaching and sharing with you, if you're one of those 15 people, my techniques. So as a result of so many people coming to me and asking me, almost begging me to help them, to teach them my techniques, I finally said, okay, it's time I share with you this technique. Now, of course, you're very curious about what is this technique. The Subconscious Rapid Transformation Technique, or SRT or SRTT. Now, why did I call it this? Subconscious Rapid Transformation Technique. Transformation because it brings about such great results. Rapid because the great results happen so fast. And subconscious because it accesses the subconscious mind. Now, regardless of what area your expertise is in, I know that you recognize that the part of us that controls us is not our logic mind. It's not our conscious mind. It's not our logical reasoning faculties. It's our unconscious. It's our subconscious. It's our emotional mind, which stores our thoughts, our beliefs, and our entire perspective of the world. So when one of your clients is engaging in this preposterous behavior and they recognize that it's self-destructive, but they say, I just can't do anything about it, you, as an expert, recognize that there's something else that's motivating them to do it. And it's something that's at a deeper level, something that maybe they're not consciously aware of. Now, most modalities, most disciplines will hopefully get to the root cause and say, oh, we know what it is. You're engaging in this sort of sexual behavior, or you're not able to enjoy your sexual relationship with your husband because of what you experienced as a child, because you were, for example, molested. Okay, so step one, we now know where it's come from. Where most therapists, counselors, life coaches, trainers, and psychologists get stuck is then knowing how to help that person get past that event. That means shifting the belief. Now, what happens when we have an event in our early childhood or an intensely emotional event, it might be traumatic or might not be traumatic, we then take on a belief. But with that belief, we have a lot of emotion attached to the belief. So maybe we believe sex is wrong or sex is bad. But maybe we also store guilt, or we store self-punishment or self-blame or self-loathing. Maybe we even feel dirty. Now, these are a combination of beliefs as well as emotions. So telling you logically, look, you're an adult, you can now, and you're married, there's nothing dirty about sex, and you know what, it happened so long ago, you don't need to feel guilty, it wasn't your fault, and your body's not dirty. Okay, the reason that I'm not getting through to you as a client, if I say that, is because I'm still talking to your conscious mind. It's your subconscious mind that formed those beliefs and stores those emotions. Maybe it stores those emotions in different parts of your body, but it still stores those emotions, maybe anger, frustration, resentment, bitterness. How are we going to connect with those emotions? How are we going to release them without reliving all the pain? And how are we going to shift the belief? How are we going to set you free from the past so that you can breathe comfortably and easily, feel good about yourself, and generate new behavior? Because let's face it, When a client comes to you, they just want three things. They want to think differently, they want to feel differently, they want to act differently, thus creating new results. The subconscious rapid transformation technique does that. And it does it really quickly, and it does it easily, and your client doesn't have to experience pain. They don't have to experience all that trauma again. There's no danger of them getting stuck. They don't have to get into a deep trance, so you don't have to spend multiple sessions trying to gain their trust and gain their, establish that bond where they can completely let go. And as you know, many clients are not hypnotizable. And they don't have to necessarily visualize specific things. So this is very different to all the other modalities, but it is something that I can teach you. And it's something that, as I said, I developed and created out of necessity. So therefore, it became a combination of all of the modalities that you can use over the phone. Now, I want to share this story with you so you understand the power, the phenomenal transformational power of the subconscious rapid transformation technique. Imagine, I have clients that I've never ever met. I've never spoken to them other than when I began working with them. Never met them in person. There was no preamble. There was no pre-interview. I just started working with them. Now, one client, for example, a gentleman in New York, has done about 5 sessions with me, and his friends, who happen to be clients of mine, which is how he found me, cannot stop raving about how he is transformed. One of his friends, Julie, said to me, I almost don't recognize him. He's so happy, he's so confident, he's a completely new person, and he's having greater success at work. Well, as you can imagine, all of these people are coming to me because of testimonials, word of mouth. They're all raving about the success. And as I said again, the beauty of this technique is that I've never met this gentleman before. He's having great transformational results, but we've never met in person. So therefore, it gives him greater flexibility, and it gives me greater flexibility. We can work over the phone anytime. When I make trips to Australia, I work with him from New York and Australia. There I'm in Australia talking to him at whatever time, and he's in New York, and I'm able to achieve the same great results. And as a result of those great results, I have clients in Australia, London, Japan, Johannesburg, and all around the United States. And as a result, you can imagine that many high-profile people and even celebrities come to me and say to me, can you help me? Yes, I can with this technique. And yes, I can teach you this technique. Life coaches, trainers, psychologists, psychiatrists, therapists, counselors, hypnotherapists, all part of the same group. All working together for the same goal, to be able to help more people, reach more people, get bigger, better, faster results, be able to charge a lot more money, generate more business, more revenue, and have greater testimonials, and have almost an endless system of referrals, because each of your clients will be so happy, so satisfied with the results, they'll keep telling everyone. And you know what's the best part about it? That even the experience of the subconscious rapid transformation technique is amazing. In other words, your clients look forward to it because they know it's not painful. They get to the root cause, they shift, they transform, they feel different right at the end of the session, and they start to act differently. And the results multiply in their life. So you will actually see these results in your client, you'll see them in your life. Now, I know you still have one more question. Patrick, I believe in myself, but can I learn this technique? Will it really be as easy as you say, or will it take such a long time? Because most of us, in the disciplines we've learned, in the modalities we've learned, in the therapies we've learned, we've taken months, maybe years and years of work after work and study after study trying to learn these techniques. The beauty of my technique is that it can be duplicated. It's easy to duplicate once you master it. I'm going to teach you how to master it. And you're going to be able to put yourself in that technique, meaning that your expression, your own creativity is going to be involved. Because what we're doing is we're accessing the subconscious mind in our client, and you're going to learn this technique so that wherever your client takes you, you're going to know how to lead them. So that no matter what the challenge or the problem is for your client, because you master this technique, you'll be able to help them. You'll know where to take them using their own beliefs, their own system, their own programming. In other words, the techniques that I'm going to teach you, the total techniques, will help you to very quickly get to the root cause. That means find out the origin of this belief that these people have and then shift it. So again, first, you establish very quickly with your client, what is the root belief? What are the core beliefs that this client has? Where did they come from? How can I safely take them back to that time and shift the way they think and feel? Shift it quickly. And a very important part of this therapeutic technique, which incidentally most experts and therapists leave out, is the emotion. You've got to release those emotions. So you establish the core belief, you establish where it originated, you release those emotions, you shift their perspective, their understanding of what happened. That means new insight, new wisdom, new knowledge, and you create a new belief and you bring about forgiveness and compassion. Now the person's been set free. They're completely set free. And let me conclude by saying this subconscious, rapid transformation technique doesn't exist anywhere else. It's not being taught anywhere else. It's not taught in a book. It's not taught in any college. It's not taught anywhere else. But I can teach it to you. Do you think that you can be one of these 15 people? Do you really want to be one of those 15 people? Do you want to really help a lot more people and you want to make a lot more money and really improve your business and take it to an entirely new level? If so, then fill out the information below this video and we can get started. Thank you for being with me today.